Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. The man who masters himself is free no matter where he stands. Most men spend their lives trapped by expectations, by society's invisible chains, by the illusion that they must play a role to be accepted. But then there's the Sigma male. He doesn't beg for power. He doesn't demand attention. He simply walks through life like a shadow, untouchable and unrestricted, and that terrifies the world. Here's a fact: 90% of people follow the crowd without question. The other 10%, they either lead it or disappear entirely. Sigma males are the rare breed who choose the latter, not out of weakness, but because they know the game is rigged, and instead of playing, they rewrite the rules. But make no mistake, this path isn't a straight line. Every Sigma male goes through stages he never sees coming, moments of brutal self-discovery, silent victories, and cold, calculated detachment. Some stages are liberating. Others, they'll break you if you're not ready. So buckle up. Because what you're about to uncover isn't just a guide, it's a roadmap through the silent war of the Sigma male, and once you see these stages, you'll never unsee them. Number 1, the dark temptation to destroy and why he resists. There comes a point in a Sigma male's journey where he realizes just how much power he truly has. Not physical strength, not money, not influence in the traditional sense, but something far more dangerous. He understands people. He sees through their masks, their fears, their insecurities. He knows what motivates them, what they crave, and what will break them. It's an ability that, if used without restraint, could turn him into something he despises: a manipulator, a destroyer, a ghost who pulls strings from the shadows just to watch people dance. This is where the dark temptation sets in. He could play the game, twist people's emotions, set things in motion that only he understands. He could expose weaknesses, plant ideas, or dismantle someone's entire reality without ever raising his voice. And here's the terrifying part. No one would even see it coming. He could do it so effortlessly that his target would think it was their own idea all along. But he doesn't, not because he can't, not because he's afraid, but because he knows the cost. The second he steps over that line, he becomes part of the very system he walked away from. He would no longer be independent. He'd be tangled in a web of control, stuck in a game he once refused to play. Power, once tasted, is addictive, and corruption isn't always loud. It creeps in slowly, disguised as logic, justification, or even a sense of justice. He's not here to destroy people. That would be easy. The real challenge is remaining indifferent, walking past situations he could easily manipulate, letting people live in their own illusions without interference. It's not about being a saint, it's about knowing that true mastery is restraint. He doesn't need revenge. He doesn't need to prove anything. He simply watches, knowing that most will destroy themselves without him ever lifting a finger. That's the difference between a Sigma male and a man who craves power. The Sigma doesn't need to control others, because he's already won the only battle that matters, the one within himself. Number 2, the ghost network of high-value loners. At first glance, it seems like Sigma males walk alone, completely detached from the world and everyone in it. But here's the paradox. Despite their self-sufficiency, they eventually cross paths with others who operate the same way. Not through networking events, not through social circles, and definitely not through forced interactions. These connections happen in the most unpredictable ways, two ghosts recognizing each other in the midst of a world that doesn't understand them. There are no introductions, no formal handshakes, no over-the-top displays of camaraderie, just a silent acknowledgement, a look, a brief exchange, a simple realization. You see the world the way I do. That's all it takes. But don't mistake this for friendship in the conventional sense. There's no obligation to keep in touch, no forced loyalty, and certainly no need for constant validation. These men don't depend on each other, yet when their paths align, there's an unspoken understanding. Resources are shared, knowledge is exchanged, and doors open without a single word of expectation. If a Sigma male ever has an ally, it's not because he sought one out, but because another high-value loner naturally appeared in his orbit. What makes this network unique is that it's completely invisible. No one outside of it even knows it exists. There's no hierarchy, no meetings, no collective goal. It's a scattered web of individuals who operate in the shadows, connected only by an unbreakable principle: absolute self-sovereignty. If one disappears, the others don't chase him. If one rises, the others don't envy him. There's no competition because they're all playing a different game. And when the time comes, whether for business, survival, or something else entirely, this network activates without hesitation. No pleasantries, no unnecessary words, just action. Most people will never see it. Most will never even believe it exists. But that's the point. A true Sigma doesn't need a pack, but in a world full of distractions and weakness, knowing that other ghosts walk the same path. That's the only connection he'll ever need. Number 3, the awakening of the final form, becoming a phantom influence. At this stage, the Sigma male has transcended the need for validation, attention, or even direct control. He no longer concerns himself with proving his worth, dominating spaces, or making his presence known. He's moved beyond all of it. Now he operates from the shadows, not as a recluse, but as a force that influences without being seen. By now, he has mastered observation, strategy, and human psychology to such an extent that he no longer needs to be in the center of anything to affect its outcome. He's the unknown factor in the equation, the missing variable that alters everything without ever being accounted for. People follow ideas he has subtly planted, make decisions based on narratives he has shaped, and unknowingly play into the structures he has influenced. And yet no one even realizes he was ever involved. This isn't manipulation in the conventional sense. He doesn't pull strings for personal gain or out of a desire to control. Instead, it's pure strategy. He understands that direct influence is messy. It invites resistance, attention, and conflict. But unseen influence? That's unstoppable. A word whispered in the right ear, a single act at the perfect moment, a well-placed absence rather than presence. These are his tools now. He does not seek credit, nor does he need it. His satisfaction comes from the knowledge that he has shaped the course of events while remaining completely untouchable. Most people will never know he exists in their world, yet they feel the effects of his presence. He could be the advisor behind a powerful leader, the unknown architect of a movement, or the reason why a failing enterprise suddenly finds its direction. And when he chooses to step away, the machine continues running without anyone realizing he was the one who built it. This is the final form, the Sigma male as a phantom influence. He no longer chases power because he understands the highest level of control isn't visible at all. He's everywhere and nowhere at the same time, leaving behind no trace but an undeniable impact. And when the world changes, people wonder how it happened, never realizing the ghost who set it all in motion. Number 4, the ultimate liberation, indifference to the world's fate. At this stage, the Sigma male reaches the peak of his evolution, complete and total detachment, not out of bitterness, not out of cynicism, but because he finally understands one undeniable truth. The world is going to do what it's going to do, no matter what. Once upon a time, he might have felt the urge to change things, to expose the lies, to wake people up, to push against the tide of ignorance and manipulation. He saw the corruption, the mindless conformity, the self-inflicted suffering, and he thought maybe, just maybe, he could do something about it. But then he realized most people don't want to be saved. They crave the comfort of their illusions. They will defend the very systems that oppress them. They will mock the truth, reject independence, and choose slavery over sovereignty every single time. So the Sigma male lets go. He stops arguing, stops explaining, stops resisting. He becomes an observer, watching the world burn with neither joy nor sadness. He no longer wastes energy on debates, movements, or revolutions. He knows that real power lies in detachment, not from life, but from the illusion that he has any responsibility to fix it. And here's the irony. By stepping away, he becomes freer than ever. He no longer reacts. He no longer cares about proving anything. He moves through life untethered, engaging only when it serves him, retreating when it doesn't. He laughs at the chaos, not in cruelty, but in understanding. He has seen the script, read the ending, and realized that none of it was ever his burden to carry. Some mistake this for nihilism, but it's not. He still enjoys life on his terms. He still sharpens his mind, refines his skills, and walks his path. But now he does it for himself, not for some misguided sense of duty to a world that never wanted to be saved in the first place. This is the ultimate liberation. Not rebellion, not conquest. Just absolute, unshakable indifference to anything that does not directly serve his existence. The world spins on, the chaos continues, and the Sigma male, he simply walks away, untouchable and free. Number 5, the silent collapse of innocence. For most, childhood is a time of blind trust. A world where authority figures are always right, rules exist for a reason, and people generally have good intentions. But for the Sigma male, this illusion doesn't last. He doesn't experience a single moment of betrayal or heartbreak that shatters his worldview. Instead, the truth seeps in slowly, like water through cracks in a foundation. He begins to notice inconsistencies. He sees that adults don't always practice what they preach, that society's truths shift depending on convenience, that people follow rules not because they make sense, but because they are afraid of questioning them. And so, while others his age remain blissfully unaware, he starts to detach, not out of rebellion, but out of quiet realization. The collapse of innocence doesn't make him angry. It makes him observant. He doesn't lash out at authority, he studies it. He doesn't throw tantrums over unfairness, he analyzes the game being played. While others still live in their comfortable illusions, he is already seeing the world for what it truly is, a system designed to keep people controlled, distracted, and dependent. And once he sees it, he can never unsee it. Number 6, the first taste of total isolation and its addictive power. At first, isolation feels unnatural. Society constantly tells people they need others, that success, happiness, and even identity itself come from relationships, status, and social belonging. But then, the Sigma male does something most people never dare to do. He steps away. At first, it's just a small withdrawal, skipping social events, distancing himself from shallow conversations, spending more time in his own world. And then it happens. He experiences the pure, undiluted power of solitude. No distractions, no fake smiles, no meaningless obligations. Just himself, his thoughts, and the raw realization that he doesn't need anyone. What others fear, being alone with their own mind, is exactly what he craves. While most rely on external noise to avoid self-reflection, he welcomes the silence. He sharpens his mind, refines his skills, and begins to cultivate something society never taught him: true self-sufficiency. And once he gets a taste of this independence, there's no going back. The world that once demanded his attention now seems distant, irrelevant. He's not lonely, he's free. And for a Sigma male, there's nothing more intoxicating than that. Number 7, the ruthless purge of weak attachments. There comes a moment when the Sigma male realizes he's carrying too much. Too many meaningless connections, outdated responsibilities, and even past versions of himself that no longer align with who he has become. And unlike most who cling to familiarity out of fear or sentimentality, he does what must be done. He cuts it all away. This isn't some emotional breakdown. There is no dramatic goodbye, no inner turmoil. It's a surgical removal of anything that no longer serves his purpose. People who drain his energy, gone. Obligations that feel forced and unnecessary, eliminated. Beliefs that once defined him but now feel like dead weight. He sheds them without hesitation. The world teaches people to hold on to relationships, to old dreams, to identities that no longer fit. Society romanticizes loyalty, even when it becomes a prison. But the Sigma male understands something most don't. Holding on to the wrong things is the fastest way to stagnate, and stagnation is death to someone who thrives on constant evolution. The purge is ruthless. Friendships that once felt valuable but now feel empty are left behind without ceremony. Social circles that once provided comfort now feel like distractions. Even aspects of his own personality, old habits, outdated mindsets, attachments he once mistook for strengths, are discarded like dead skin. And here's the brutal truth. Not everyone will understand. People will call him cold, heartless, even selfish. They will resent the fact that he no longer plays by their unspoken rules of loyalty and obligation, but he doesn't care because his only loyalty is to his growth, his freedom, his path. And once the purge is complete, he feels something rare: clarity, no unnecessary weight dragging him down, no artificial connections demanding his time. Just pure, undiluted focus on what truly matters. Most people will never have the courage to do this. They will stay stuck in toxic relationships, outdated identities, and routines that suffocate them. But the Sigma male, he walks away without guilt, without regret, because in the end, only those willing to let go can ever be truly free. Number 8, the reckoning with power and corruption. At this point, the Sigma male stands at a crossroads. He has spent years sharpening his mind, mastering his environment, and cultivating an influence that operates outside traditional structures. He understands people in ways they don't even understand themselves. He sees the weaknesses in systems, the blind spots in leaders, the quiet fears that drive human behavior. And now, for the first time, he faces a question he never thought he'd have to answer. Do I step into power? It's not an easy decision. He has spent most of his life avoiding the spotlight, detaching from the very mechanisms that govern the world. But now he realizes something unsettling. Power is there for the taking. He wouldn't have to beg for it, manipulate for it, or fight for it like others do. He could simply walk in and claim it because, unlike the power-hungry, he isn't desperate for control. He understands control, but here's the catch. Power has a cost. It demands attention, maintenance, and most dangerously, attachment. The Sigma male has spent his life cultivating detachment, and the moment he steps into power, he risks being drawn into the game he once ignored. He knows that power is a slow poison, subtle, addictive, and designed to make even the most independent men justify their own corruption. Some Sigma males walk away, seeing the trap for what it is. They remain ghosts, influencing from the shadows, never fully committing to a position that could consume them. They know that true power is not in ruling others, but in ruling oneself. They let the world chase its illusions while they remain untouchable. But others? They step forward, not out of greed, but out of sheer calculation. They believe they can wield power without falling victim to it. They see the chaos, the incompetence, the corruption, and they think, if not me, then who? They embrace the game, not as players, but as architects, using their unique perspective to reshape outcomes. Whether they remain phantoms or rise as unseen kings, one thing is certain: Sigma males never chase power, they choose it, and that choice defines the final stretch of their journey. Number 9, the crushing weight of knowing too much. There comes a point when the Sigma male's knowledge stops feeling like an advantage and starts feeling like a weight. He has spent years observing, analyzing, and understanding the unspoken rules that govern human behavior. He sees through people, how they lie to themselves, how they blindly follow authority, how they cling to illusions just to feel safe. He doesn't just recognize manipulation, he sees it happening in real time, in politics, in relationships, in everyday conversations. And this is when he realizes something unsettling. He is alone in this awareness. Most people don't want to see the truth. They want comfort, not clarity. They want simple answers, not harsh realities. And so, when the Sigma male tries to express what he sees, he is met with resistance. Not because he is wrong, but because people would rather fight to protect their illusions than face the discomfort of questioning them. So he stops trying. He doesn't waste energy explaining things to those who refuse to listen. He watches as people make predictable mistakes, as they trust the untrustworthy, as they sabotage themselves over and over again. And while others think he is cold or indifferent, the truth is he has already accepted that most will never wake up. But this awareness comes at a cost. He can't unsee the patterns. He can't pretend to believe in the narratives that keep others content. Relationships become difficult because small talk feels pointless, and deep conversations reveal uncomfortable truths people don't want to hear. Even success feels hollow when he knows how easily it can be manufactured with the right understanding of human nature. Yet this moment of isolation is also his final confirmation. He is not like the rest. He is playing a different game, moving through the world on his own terms. The weight of knowing too much is real, but it also frees him. Because once he fully accepts that most people are trapped by their own illusions, he stops trying to save them. And that's when the burden truly disappears, when he realizes he was never meant to belong in their world in the first place. Number 10, the cold-blooded decision to walk away for good. At some point, the Sigma male stops entertaining the idea of escape and actually leaves, not in some dramatic, rebellious outburst, not as an act of defiance, but as a cold, calculated decision. He has seen enough, played the game long enough, and realized there is nothing left for him in the world most people obsess over. This isn't a phase, it's not some temporary retreat before reintegrating into society. This is permanent. He doesn't announce it, doesn't make a speech about rejecting the system, he simply vanishes. One day he's there, participating just enough to blend in. The next he's gone. No explanations, no goodbyes, no need for validation. What is he walking away from? Everything that doesn't serve him. Relationships that demand too much and offer too little. Careers that drain his energy just to maintain an illusion of success. Social structures built on pretense and shallow connections. He walks away not because he can't function in society, but because he sees no reason to waste his life playing by rules designed to keep him trapped. Most people fantasize about this kind of escape, but the truth is they are too addicted to comfort, too afraid of being alone, too conditioned to believe that success only exists within society's framework. The Sigma male, however, is immune to these fears. He knows that true freedom isn't found in status, wealth, or recognition. It's found in detachment. Walking away doesn't mean he disappears into the wilderness, though some do. It means he restructures his life entirely on his terms. He might still exist within society, but he is no longer of it. He stops explaining himself, stops justifying his choices, stops giving energy to anything that demands more than it's worth. And the world, it doesn't even notice he's gone, because it never truly saw him in the first place. But the difference is he sees everything, and now, finally, he is free. Number 11, the death of the need for validation. There is a moment when the Sigma male undergoes a final transformation, when he stops needing anything from the world, including recognition. Most people, no matter how independent they claim to be, still secretly crave validation. They want to be admired, respected, or at the very least acknowledged. Even those who reject mainstream society often build an identity around being different just to be noticed for it. But the Sigma male reaches a point where even that fades. He no longer needs to prove himself. Not to society, not to critics, not even to himself. He doesn't care if people admire him or despise him, if they acknowledge his existence or remain oblivious to it. Their opinions hold no weight because his sense of self isn't tied to anything external. This is what makes him truly untouchable. He cannot be manipulated because there's nothing anyone can offer him that he desires. He cannot be insulted because words from those who don't matter mean nothing. He cannot be swayed, guilt-tripped, or pressured because he has already let go of the need to be seen. Most people spend their entire lives chasing some form of validation through careers, relationships, achievements, or rebellion. The Sigma male, however, stops chasing entirely. He does what he does because he chooses to, not because he needs approval. He moves through life with complete detachment from praise or criticism, operating on his own terms without the slightest concern for how others perceive him. And the irony? It is this indifference that makes him more powerful than ever. Because when you no longer seek validation, people have no control over you. When you stop needing admiration, you become a mystery. When you no longer react to hate, you become an enigma. At this point, the Sigma male doesn't just walk his own path. He walks above the entire game. While the rest of the world is trapped in an endless cycle of seeking approval, he moves forward, unseen and unaffected. Because the moment you stop needing validation, you become truly free. Number 12, the refinement of pure, unfiltered logic. At this stage, the Sigma male reaches a level of mental refinement that sets him apart from almost everyone. He no longer makes decisions based on impulse, social expectations, or fleeting emotions. His thinking is surgical, stripped of bias, illusions, and wishful thinking. He sees reality exactly as it is, not as people want it to be. Most people are ruled by emotions, whether they admit it or not. They justify bad decisions with feelings, cling to relationships out of sentimentality, and resist truth when it conflicts with their personal desires. The Sigma male, however, has mastered the ability to detach from these weaknesses. He doesn't suppress emotion, he controls it. To him, emotions are nothing more than data, signals to be analyzed, used when necessary, and discarded when they cloud judgment. This shift makes his decision-making ruthless and precise. He does what needs to be done regardless of how it feels. If something no longer serves him, he cuts it off without hesitation, be it a person, a career, or an outdated belief. He doesn't engage in pointless debates, doesn't waste energy trying to change people who refuse to see reason, and never lets emotions dictate his actions. Some mistake this for coldness, but it's not. It's efficiency. While others spiral in self-doubt, hesitation, and regret, the Sigma male moves forward with absolute clarity. He has no time for wishful thinking or comforting lies. If a strategy works, he uses it. If something is broken beyond repair, he leaves it behind. His mind is a weapon honed to cut through nonsense and expose the raw truth of any situation. This level of thinking makes him dangerous in the eyes of those who still operate on emotion. They can't manipulate him with guilt. They can't appeal to his ego. They can't distract him with drama. His logic is unshakable, his focus is absolute, and his path is one of relentless efficiency. At this point, he doesn't just see the world differently, he operates on a completely different level. And while the rest of society drowns in irrationality, the Sigma male moves like a ghost through the chaos, untouched and always 3 steps ahead. At this stage, the Sigma male is no longer a participant in the world's distractions. He is an observer, a strategist, a force that exists beyond the reach of conventional thinking. He has passed through every stage, from disillusionment to mastery, from isolation to absolute liberation. He no longer fights against the system, nor does he seek to change it. He simply moves past it, untouched by the noise, unshaken by the illusions that keep others trapped. He has refined his mind to operate on pure, unfiltered logic, free from the emotional chains that rule most people. He has shed the need for validation, recognition, or belonging. He has walked away, not as an act of rebellion, but as a calculated decision to exist on his own terms. And in doing so, he has achieved something rare, something most will never even come close to: absolute freedom. Society will never understand him. It will label him cold, indifferent, perhaps even dangerous. But that doesn't matter, because he no longer seeks to be understood. He moves silently, unseen, influencing when necessary, disappearing when it suits him. He is not a leader, nor a follower. He is something else entirely, a force that operates outside the cycle of control and dependence. And the irony? The world, in all its chaos, will always try to pull him back. People will always be drawn to the mystery of the one who does not need them. Systems will always attempt to absorb those who refuse to conform, but they will fail, because the Sigma male is already gone, not in body, but in spirit. He has transcended the noise, the distractions, the illusions. He has stepped beyond the reach of the world's expectations, and now he walks his path alone, not because he has to, but because he chooses to. And in that choice, in that unwavering independence, lies his greatest power. If this breakdown resonated with you, if you see the world differently, if you move on your own terms, if you refuse to be controlled, then you belong here. This channel isn't for the ordinary. It's for those who think beyond the surface, who embrace solitude, who sharpen their minds instead of seeking validation. So if you're one of the few who truly understand, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like the video to show your support, comment your thoughts below, and let's build something that goes beyond the noise. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them, because not everyone is ready for this knowledge, but those who are, they'll recognize it instantly. Stay sharp, stay untouchable, and keep moving forward.